Is this thing working? Is it live? It looks like it's working. What's happening, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. If it's your first time hanging out on one of the live shows, this is, well, it's basically a background noise generator. I'm either talking about cars or motorcycles or anything in between. I don't even know what sometimes gets brought up on this channel, but I'm kind of just along for the ride like you are. So hang out with us. Let's talk about some stuff. And by all means, feel free to join in the live chat. If you like what you're seeing, throw your boy a bone over here. Anyway, let's dive into this. V8 engines. Yeah, I just put together a standalone video talking about this, and I've been going over this for quite a while. But what I wanted to do was offer up to you some of the reasons why manufacturers are starting to move more and more away from the V8. The thing is that with modern technology and with the ability for these engines to be manufactured now with such tight tolerances, and with more and more engines being designed to run on boost, that is the most important part of it. Well, the manufacturers are looking at this from their own very unique point of view, which is they want to make an engine that is as small as possible, that is as light as possible, that makes the absolute most power as possible. And this is nothing new, guys. Every industry, I'm talking heavy equipment industry, I'm talking watercraft, aircraft. These are all industries that will look at power density more than they will outright power output. They look at fuel economy. They look at serviceability. How durable is this thing? You kind of get the idea that I'm going with, right? So the main driver on this is the new Hurricane Inline 6. As maligned as it seems to be by Dodge enthusiasts, it's actually not that bad of an engine. Although my very first experience with that engine was the high output in one of the Grand Wagoneers, and I was overwhelmed with how well that thing ran. But when I drove the standard output in one of the Ram 1500s, I was equally as underwhelmed. But I feel like I got a dud. These are engines that realistically need to be run on very good fuel. And the one that I was driving, talking about the Ram, wasn't. Now, in talking to some friends of mine that have since gone and bought some of these trucks, they flat out scream. They rival the Coyote from Ford in terms of power output, or at least performance numbers. Talking about the standard output, not even getting into the high output, which is a monster in and of itself. Delivering about 540 horsepower, that thing drives the truck as quick as the TRX, which is powered by the Hellcat. Just something to think about. But that really does drive the point home. I mean, what is the point of having a V8 when it's going to get walked all over by an engine like the Hurricane 6? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about this. I want to talk about the engine itself, but I want to talk about the vehicles that they're being put in. I feel like there are some folks that are really down on the fact that Dodge is putting 6 cylinders into their vehicles now. But I think that if you look at it from a little bit different point of view, you might not change your mind. I'll put it to you real close, but I'll put it to you like this. I want to throw some ifs at you. And I bet you if I give you some scenarios, you would change your mind pretty quickly. I think I know why so many guys are upset about the 6 with the V8 going away. So in the trucks, I get it, V8s, instant torque, all of that. But the 6 cylinders are far and away more powerful. Way more torque, more horsepower across the board. What's not to love? There are folks that will say that the Hurricane 6 is not going to be as durable because it's got a turbocharger. Well, actually, 2 turbochargers attached to that block. And the entire power plant is 100 pounds lighter than the 5.7 that it is replacing. By the way, the weight is 445 pounds for the Hurricane 6. Coincidentally, that is an identical number to the Coyote 5.0 V8. But yeah, it's 100 pounds lighter. The Hemis check in at about 550 pounds shipped weight. So these are significantly more powerful. They weigh a lot less. Folks are concerned that these things are going to have an inherent issue because they have turbos attached to them. Guys, again, if you look at any of the industries that are out there, they're using engines that are designed with boost in mind. Back in the day, though, you would have been correct to be concerned. Look at it like this. Cars like, people always say, well, the V6 and the Grand National, the Typhoon, they'll start talking about like the Stealth. They'll talk about a bunch of different engines that are out there, right? Well, the reality is that a lot of these engines that they'll start to bring up were never really designed for boost. I mean, yeah, they were designed once they had the boost component attached. They had lower compression and more injector and all that to make sure they get enough fuel. But the reality was that these were not real life, honest to goodness boost, dedicated boost engines, the way that you would see with diesel engines or with liquid natural gas engines, like you would see in buses or in watercraft, like on the diesel side. Those engines are all dedicated boost engines. Aircraft industry has like a monopoly, or you would think that they would, on gasoline powered variants like this, where the engine itself is designed in a way that if you tried to run it without boost, it would be disproportionately poorly performing. Whereas the old way of doing it, of taking a naturally aspirated engine, killing some compression and throwing boost on top of it, if you remove the boost, it just means it makes a little bit less power. These other engines, without the boost, they're practically useless. And that's really where we're at now, technology wise. The Hurricane Inline 6, just like many of these other engines that are designed around boost, are like that. They really do need boost to survive. And in that respect, they have much more robust blocks. They've got significantly stronger connecting rods. The crankshaft, every component, every aspect of that engine is built around boost. That's it. That's it all the way around in a nutshell. So when you have engines like that, yes, you're going to be able to run ridiculous cylinder pressures. You're going to be able to run ridiculous power numbers. Diesels have been doing this for a very, very long time. And it's kind of about time that gasoline got with the program that diesels have been basically dealing with for forever. But that being said, there is always going to be a catch with this. And the primary catch is going to be, well, let's face it, it takes a lot of boost to make these engines run. And if you're running them at anything more than just a highway cruise rate, it's going to consume fuel like crazy. So fuel economy in a very narrow scenario is going to be better with the smaller engine with boost. And it's only in that narrow band that you can take advantage of that. Everywhere else, it's going to be worse. And if you're going to have to keep this thing in boost to make any real power, you're going to have some pretty serious technology in play if you're going to try to make overall fuel economy about the same as a naturally aspirated V8. Whereas you're going to have direct injection. You're going to have to be able to run this thing lean when it's under power enrich mode. That's what direct injection really helps a lot with. You're going to need to really have a dual fuel system. Variable cams and everything else that comes with the program has got to be employed. And not one system can be left out. Every one of the technologies that would be used is important. So yes, it does require all of the technology to make the kind of power that the V8 would make, and then some. But again, it's going to take quite a bit. But so blah, blah, blah with that, right? Here's what I really wanted to get into. And it's the vehicles that they're putting that engine into, I think, are the ones that are throwing folks off. So let's talk about the Ram first. Look, Ford has just slayed it with the way that they came to market with their F-150. Base engine, it's a naturally aspirated V6, cool enough. But you can get the 2.7 liter twin turbo. Some people will argue is the best of the V6 turbos. You can get the 3.5 liter turbo, which makes the most power overall. But you can also get a 5 liter V8. which is what I got. By the way, I just did a draggy hit. I'm going to post that video up later. In just like t-shirt weather air with a very full tank of E85 and with no weight reduction at all. The spare tires there, the jack, the heavy floor mats, crew cab, you know how this thing gets down, went basically 1360 at just shy of 103 miles an hour. In fact, it was 102.78 or 76, something like that. Truck freaking rips. So yeah, still a huge, big fan of the Coyote, but that gives you an idea of the performance envelope, which is a pretty difficult performance envelope to deal with. In fact, the fastest or the quickest variants that I've heard of the standard output Ram 1500, at least a crew cab like mine, would be good to kind of get in those same numbers. So my truck makes basically horsepower and torque equivalent, more horsepower but less torque than the Hurricane, about 450 and probably 430, if you will, in terms of power output. But think about that for a minute. I mean, it takes a Coyote V8 to beat, or at least to run with, the standard output inline six. Not too shabby, especially when you look at the power numbers that are getting put down. But anyway, getting back to it, I think a lot of this, okay, let's talk about the Ram. So the fact that Dodge never did Ram, Stellantis, whatever, they never did develop a new V8. And that's I think one of the big Achilles heels, because all you would need, and this is usually the case, if you want to succeed, look at what somebody is doing, look at somebody that is successful, and just do what they're doing, or at least use what they are doing as strong inspiration for what you should be doing. And in this case, Ford's making a V8. Yeah, because people want V8s in their trucks. You know, like it or not, just because the V8 isn't the most powerful, it doesn't mean that it's not the most desirable. People like engines that spin to higher RPMs. It's a little bit of a hot rod to drive. It's fun. And it'll reel in a 3.5 liter EcoBoost once they get on a roll. So it ain't always just about the torque number or the horsepower number. It's power delivery, right? Well, Dodge didn't do that, or Ram, or however you want to look at it. Stellantis did not do that. And that's where a lot of folks are getting turned off by Dodge, Ram, and they're moving back over to Ford. You got to remember, a lot of Mopar guys are recovering Ford guys. But speaking of other brands, look at what Chevrolet is doing. You can still get the 5.3 liter. You can still get the 6.2 liter, provided you pay the upgrade, just like you have to for the upgraded high output Hurricane. But their base engine is a 2.7 liter turbo 4-cylinder. I mean, damn, if you think you got it bad with Ram, if you're a Chevy guy, a 4-pot, are you freaking kidding me? Bro, that's just nutty, right? Well, it seems to get the job done. And if it's an EPA play for total emissions or something along those lines, well, so be it. But the fact remains that Chevrolet still offers up not one, but two V8s, where Ford only offers realistically one. I don't want to talk about the Raptor. And if you do want a hot rod, Ford will build you one with their sleeper program. That's a 700 horsepower V8. So is that really two, or could it be three? Anyway, you get the idea. With the main holdout in this conversation realistically being Toyota, with the Tundra only being offered with the V6 twin turbo. Look, I don't know how many people are going nutty over that truck, but I can tell you that in conversation, it always gets forgotten. Maybe it's because it doesn't have the V8. In fact, the V8 version of the Tundra has turned into one of the most desirable trucks if you can find one on the used market. The resale value on those rigs is going up. So kind of strange, right? But if you're waiting on Dodge, Ram, whatever to come out with a V8, don't hold your breath. There's nothing in development, and there's no reason to put a V8 in the truck unless you're talking specifically about the Scat Pack variant of the 6.4 liter. You don't want the truck 6.4 liter It's got a great intake manifold. In fact, it's the best intake manifold of any of the Gen 3 Hemi intakes in terms of making power. But here's the thing, that 6.4 liter for the truck, it only exists to drag loads. It's to deal with high power levels for long periods of time. It really doesn't make that much more power than the 5.7. It just makes a lot more total torque, like total average torque, not total peak. But yeah, you would need something around 400 and let's say it's in truck tune, 470 horsepower. Realistically, if you're going to have an engine to fall in between the standard output and the high output Hurricane 6s, this is kind of how the Coyote fits in with the F-150. This is the only way you would be able to get that kind of performance in that truck in terms of V8. But even then, it would just simply be a sort of good race between that truck and an F-150 just because of weight. But it would be another good race that you could talk about. So what's next for the conversation? Well, let me dive in with you guys real quick, and then I'm going to talk about the car scenario, because this is really where I think a lot of the passion lies. I think truck guys, for whatever reason, they hear inline six and they just think, okay, cool torque, which is weird because no, but anyway, truck guys a lot of times are a lot more accepting when it comes to power plants, but car guys, certainly not so much. So let's dive into this. Skid saying, sup, B? Got the bald guy with the shades and the flex. I like it. Behemoth saying, because of the EPA. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing good. Itch is in. What is up? Sovereign is in. Sovereign saying, stream's looking great. Do anything different? No, man. I think it's just, it was having funky connection lately. So it's been real hit and miss. DM is in saying, good evening, chat friends. Hello. X is in. What's up, Professor B in chat? What's up, man? X is saying, I think enthusiasts purchase vehicles based more off of emotion than logic. V8 gives an illogical emotional experience. No matter horsepower will override experience. Good point. Very true. It's one of the reasons why I bought the Coyote when I got the F-150. I just wanted the noise. I wanted the feel, the torque. Man, and it turns out, man, that truck is a really good truck, and it's eerily quick too. Again, the thing just damn near went 103 miles an hour in the quarter, like not more than an hour ago. And by the way, in that video, I wasn't look, I didn't try to do a midnight hit. I didn't try to cheat anything down. It's got literally a brand new full ass tank of E85 in it. It's got floor mats plus the heavy rubber floor mats, the jack, the spare tire, everything is in the truck. I mean, and so it is as full weight as you can get on corn, and it just dropped to 1360. So very happy with that, but I'll post that up tonight after the show. Skid saying, yep. X said, I think for people who grew up driving a V8, I've only driven a V8 since 16 years old, 29 now. It'd be very difficult for them to commit to switch to a V6 or an EV. The EV is the part that really bugs me, man. I am not an EV guy per se, although I don't have a problem with them. Some people just have it's like a trigger for them. I'm not an EV guy because I see way too many inconveniences with an EV for me. Plus resale value is terrible. So, you know, there's that. Skid saying even the 5.3 Chevy is kind of a dog. It ain't kind of a dog. It's very much of a dog, but it's so detuned from the factory though. But yeah. Arthur saying V6 twin turbo Tundra has had some issues, had some pretty serious issues with casting sand still being in the block. But yeah, it had, and I think it was having issues with turbos too. X is saying, if I were looking for a newer Mopar and there was a 2024 Scat Pack for 50 or a brand new HO Charger for the price, I'm buying the slower Scatty because of the track times don't matter to me. And that is a big part of it. And that's something that I will be speaking on. You're right. Well, we should talk about that straight away. So this is why you have to have a V8 in the lineup, because people will buy the V8 just to have a V8 engine, just to have the theater, the sound, the feel of it, the punchiness of them. There are certain things about a V8 that you ain't going to get with a turbo 6. These are facts of physics. That's all there is to it. You're never going to get the tip in throttle response out of a V6 or a V6 or inline 6 turbo engine. There's not enough mass there. You're not bringing in enough air to make enough power at that RPM level or at that load. It doesn't work like that unless that V6 or inline 6 is 5 liters large, which it ain't going to be. And so I think you get the idea. You're not going to get the initial hit that you will out of a V8. Again, you're not going to get the sound. And depending on how the V8 is tuned and what kind of cam profiles it looks like, you know, depending on its application, you're just not going to get that feel overall, the overall flat power curve that you get out of a V8. You're just not going to get out of these types of engines. Not to say that the torque curve won't be flat. It's just that there is always going to be a delay between power request and power delivery, where there is not any delay when it comes to a V8. Arthur Wallace saying, salute, B. Mason. I like it. Hello. X is saying the V8 gives a driver a sense of confidence when it comes to towing or hauling and abuse it can take under a heavy load. I don't think a V6 gives that same confidence. I think that it would give you the same confidence if you had been convinced that that engine was designed and built specifically around boost. The thing is, and I'd put out a standalone video too for this, guys, but the reality is that if you have an engine that is designed around making boost, that is entirely different than putting boost on a V8 just in general, right? So if you look, let me give you perfect example of this, guys. Hellcat, okay? Hellcat, Red Eye, Demon 170, it doesn't matter. The engine, the block itself is not designed necessarily for boost. You're looking at a block that is basically the 5.7, but the 6.4 and the Hellcat share basically the same block. Everybody goes, well, you know, the 6.4 can't handle boost. Well, the Hellcat can. No, it's the crankshaft is different, only in that it has a shorter stroke in the Hellcat. That should already give you a hint right there. The connecting rods are basically the same. The pistons are a little bit different, but they have different compression ratios. That's it. But yet this block can hold a bunch of power, right? Well, yeah, that engine can. But the problem is that block, that engine family was never designed around boost. The thickness of the wall, the way that the engine is put together overall, it will handle boost despite the fact that it wasn't designed for it. Whereas engines like the Hurricane 6, and again, the diesel world has been dealing with this for forever, so has aviation, where engines that are designed to run on boost handle far and away higher cylinder pressures. The block, they're thicker blocks. They're much more robustly built than the V8 counterparts. And so that's the reason why they do so well. An engine that is built to run on boost will be disproportionately worse if you remove the boost from the equation. Whereas an engine that is designed to work with boost, but was originally an NA engine, will just make less power than if it had boost. And that's it. So there's some things to consider here. And a lot of that has to do with how the cylinder head is exhausting into the turbo case itself. In some cases, you can't put headers on them because everything is included in the cylinder head to work with a turbo. All of these things are engineered the way that they're engineered to work with boost and to be as power dense as possible. And in that case, they can be exceptionally reliable. And that's where you just got to trust the fact that these engineers have built an engine with direct injection plus dual fuel systems, heavy, thick walls. You've got all kinds of technology that's going into that engine to make it as durable as possible, as warrantable as possible, to make the kind of power that it does. And this is a long way to get to a point. So let me just remind you guys that the Hurricane Inline 6 engine, let's talk about the high output at 3 liters. 3.0 liters of displacement. The Demon 170 is 6.2 liters. Let's just give it 6 liters to make the math easy. It's double the size in terms of capacity as the Hurricane 6, the HO. But the HO is making, if you doubled its horsepower, 1,080. Well, to get to anywhere near that number, the Demon has to run E85. And that's kind of a strange thing, right? To get to the same power that the 3-liter is making, if you double the size, it's got to run E85. Well, the HO variant can do that on 93 octane. A lot of that has to do with direct injection, variable cams, and all these other things that go into it. But it just illustrates the fact that the cylinder pressure in the 3-liter is nearly double what it is in the Demon. So why do I say nearly double? Well, it's because the Hurricane has lower parasitic loss. It's turbos. They take up less power to turn. It's not 3 horsepower. Don't ever let anybody make you think that it is. It's not. There's still a significant parasitic loss to turn those turbos, but it's far and away less than the roughly 120 horsepower that it takes to turn that positive displacement supercharger to make the 1,000 plus whatever horsepowers that the Demon 170 would make. So if it makes, let's say, 1,100, it would need, it's making cylinder pressure wise 1,250 to make the 1,100. Does that make any sense? So that's why I'm saying it's designed this way. It's designed with long-term reliability for use, misuse, and abuse. So that's why I look at this and I go, man, I get why they did it. I understand the engineering behind it. I'm on board with it, but I too am just not a big fan of it. I want my noise. I want the sound. I want everything that comes with having a V8. And if I've got to pay a penalty in terms of power or performance to get it, man, let me tell you something. Nowadays, with trucks that will run, look, let me put it to you like this. If you've got a pickup truck and that sucker gets out there and runs a 14.0, that's a fast-ass truck. I mean, that for a pickup truck, that's getting down, baby. And, you know, a lot of these trucks, the V8 trucks would run like 14.3, 14.4. That's not slow for a truck. It's just that the new stuff is so much faster still with the 6 cylinders. Or if you're looking at the Coyote, which is a cheat code in and of itself, just look how fast that truck can be. You can still get solid performance numbers and fuel economy out of a V8, in many cases better than their turbocharged 6-cylinder counterparts. Let's not forget that. Well, let's dive back into this comments section. SE302 saying the 5.7 and the Tundra built up such a good reputation in terms of reliability. The new twin turbo V6 offered has some issues. Yeah, it does. In fact, the 5.7 Tundra, that engine is way overbuilt. They used to they had a little Maggie supercharger they used to offer for it that would bump it up to like 550 horsepower. Let's see. King Cobra saying, but they're bringing back the V8. It's going to be the Magnum for the Mopars. Show me some evidence of that. What is it going to be? Give me displacement. What's the architecture? 4-cam, dual overhead cam, cam and block. What is it going to be? Is it going to be a wedge head? Is they going to try to make a Hemi work? What is that architecture going to be? If they do it, fantastic, but I'd like to see it. I haven't seen anything like that yet. Nothing in development whatsoever. X is saying exactly. EVs are great. It's a certain application. Yeah, dirt bikes and scooters are fine. And a V6 will never match the sound of a V8. I don't know. Some folks like it. Ford GT sounds good. Eric saying, good evening, everyone. And B. Mason, friend, Sovereign Knight. Hello, Eric. How you doing, brother? Hope you're doing well. Always good to see Eric popping in. CJ saying, what's up? How's it going? I just traded my 2011 F-150 with a 5-liter Coyote for a 2024 Nissan Titan with a 5.7-liter Endurance V8, and it's a freaking beast. Also a good setup, too. I keep forgetting about the Nissan. Good truck. DM is checking in with Eric. Let's see. Oh, Arthur's saying, yeah, the throttle response is big. The big displacement gives you that hit. The turbo motor, you have to wait for it's got to spool up. You're exactly right. All right, everybody's checking in with Eric. I like it. Let's see. Oh, X, yeah. I mean, as long as the engine is built for the application, look at the aviation industry. I mean, for the boosted light AV motors, I mean, they're all single turbo, twin turbo, flat sixes, flat fours for the most part. And they are designed to run at 70 to 80% power all day indefinitely from overhaul to overhaul. So, yeah. DM saying Toyota made a bad move going to a V6. Yeah, the V8's nice, man. I came like that close to buying a white Tundra, and I loved it. The only thing I didn't like about it, to me, it felt a little bit down on power compared to the Dodge and to the Coyote, but that's not a criticism. I think one of the things that I said about that truck is that, if you're on it all the time, that it may feel like that. But the reality is that it always just felt peppy. Like it felt like a very youthful truck. Stuart, thank you very much. Asking, do you need a special lathe to grind a cam? Yes, you do. Absolutely, you do. Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere near. I mean, it would all have to be CNC stuff. Nowadays, people just move straight to CNC. Guys used to, there was it's been 100 years ago since I even thought of this, but there was it's a real analog cam grinding deal when guys would do regrinds on camshafts. But since then, yeah, I mean, you're better off just giving the folks like Comp or Lunati the specs that you're looking for, and they'll take care of it. They've got the right load profiles too to work with what you're working with. And Eric, yeah, I mean, with even people just want an option of a V8, and I agree. If people want it, they really should have some type of a, very durable, very robust V8 for guys to be able to pull from. Especially for guys that are going to be towing, they're going to be needing the extra power that aren't necessarily going to be going up in elevation. Because that's the one thing you got to remember, guys. Turbos are the cheat code. So that Coyote that I have makes phenomenal power at sea level, but at 5,000 feet, it's not. It's going to make about 15% less power, where a turbo engine, it just keeps making power until it literally cannot gather up enough atmosphere to make whatever its rated manifold pressure is. It'll always outperform a naturally aspirated variant at altitude. That's physics. That's life. That's the way it is. That's why you see boosted applications in aviation. And non-boosted engines in aviation have very low ceilings, and it's because of that. Stuart's asking, do you like the 5.2 Voodoo? Love it. Absolutely. It's a great engine. Arthur's saying, I want to see Dodge Stellantis try a dual overhead cam V8. Yeah, true of us all. Well, we had, and I swear, it's almost like Mandela effect at this point, because I went back trying to find it, and I couldn't find any evidence of what I remember hearing on quite a few occasions, that there was a lot of talk in 2014 that, the LX platform was going away and there was going to be a move to the Giulia platform. And the Giulia platform has a Ferrari-derived V6 twin turbo that makes 500 horsepower. It's a little bitty car, hauls a whole lot of ass. Then they said, well, no, we can't really fit a V8 in that thing, so we're going to look at the Ghibli platform. And there was a press conference with Tim Kuniskis talking about all of this. And anyway, they ended up deciding against it, stuck with the LX platform, and there was supposed to be a revision to it. And in that revision, there was going to be provisions for a dual overhead cam, roughly 5.5 liter V8. It would be the Coyote equivalent for Mopar. But I went back and tried to find it, and I swear it's like, again, it's like a Mandela effect. Did I wake up one morning in a parallel universe where I didn't actually read that or see it? Because I remember reading about it. I think even Steve Magnante had said something about this too. So anyway, if there was something in development, it got shelved for whatever reasons. Could have been EPA reasons, could have been anything. Skids, brother. Man, they were calling, I don't know, man. 6-cylinders have been like the hot rod guys, the 6-pack dragsters. But yeah, I love the sound of a straight 6.2X. When they're done right, they sound really good. Oh, CJ, yeah, the cylinder deactivation, dude. Let me tell you something. The first thing I do in tunes with V8s is the cylinder deactivation. I get rid of that first and away. Stuart, again, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, Eric's saying, yeah, Toyotas are still having problems with the twin turbo. For sure they are. Sam saying, am I late? Yeah, you're right on time, man. It's better late than never. Oh, DM put the throttle controller on the Tundra. That's something I always felt like it needed too. You're right about that, because it was not progressive. Like it wasn't like a 45-degree linear throttle curve. It always felt like it was kind of a ramp up. Corbin's asking, what do you think about the Corvette using a flat plane crank? Nothing wrong with it. For a turbo engine, it's good. You never want one of those for a crank driven supercharger. There's primary and secondary vibrations. And it's the secondary vibration with a flat plane that will break the snout off of crankshafts. And it's the effect gets logarithmically worse the larger the engine is. So little bitty engine, not a big deal. Big engine, big deal. And there's a limit for a flat plane V8, about 5, and this would be pushing it, but 5.5 liters is about as big as you really want to go. If you're going to keep the RPM somewhere south of say 7,000 RPM, you should be okay. Going much larger than that, you're going to start running into secondary vibration issues. It's one of the reasons why the GT500 didn't use Voodoo architecture, why they used a cross plane, because they kept snapping the front off of their crankshafts. See Arthur and Sovereign hanging out. Oh, let's see. Says I'm going to take the RV for a trip and the shore transfer went out. I broke my key off in the door. Ugh, that sucks. Let's see. See, Sovereign's hanging out with Arthur. Like I said, I've owned 2 inline 6-cylinder turbo cars, a 91 Super Turbo and a 96 Super Turbo. I love inline 6 in certain cars. I think they are sweet in Japanese cars and BMWs, but not in 5,000-pound Chargers. So that segues me into the second half of this chat, which is it's the car. And that's the issue that I'm really having with Dodge right now. We can talk about Ram and all of that, but that's pretty much set in stone. We already know where that's going. The issue that I have, and this is why I'm not a fan of the internal combustion Hurricane 6 in the Charger. It's because the Charger looks like the Charger. Okay, that car, from a stylistic point of view, is not good. The rear haunch is weird looking. It's making the rear wheel and tire combination look small. There's too much room above the rear tire. It makes it look cartoonishly pushed in a way, or blown up, like it's been inflated somehow in the like the back half of the car. It just looks weird. But more to the point, if you look at it from the profile, it looks like a cartoon version of a 1968 Charger. 1968 Charger, gorgeous car. But not when you start screwing around with the lines, and it's kind of bulby looking, and it's the dimensions are not right. The put it like this: the roof is too far over the belly line, the belt line of that car. It does not look good. It has the look of the Marlin, the AMC Marlin. If you remember that car, you won't, because I wasn't even around when this thing was born. The idea with that car was the passengers in the back seat could wear a hat, and it was a fast, too long, and then it dropped off weirdly. It was an ugly car from the 60s, but had they just employed a normal fastback slope, it would have been a very attractive car. That's what the Charger looks like. It's this weird, uncanny valley that if you don't look at it, or if you look at it and you don't think about it straight away, so you know something is wrong, but you just can't put your finger on it. That's what it is. It suffers from the same problem, I feel like, that the Marlin did back in the day. Look it up. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But I got to tell you, man, I just, it is so frustrating for me to see that car, because, okay, let me get to the point. You know me, I'll off at squirrel, right? I don't think anybody would have a problem with the Hurricane 6 duet that we've got, especially considering you're going to be able to get this car in all-wheel drive. I don't think anybody would have a problem with the V8 going away if that car had the design language of the Starion, the Conquest, right? Or if it had kind of a design language like the Stealth from back in the day. Maybe some of the design language of the Eagle Talon. You know, the Talon and the Stealth were both turbocharged. The Talon was a 4-cylinder. The Stealth was a 6-cylinder V6, not an inline 6, but all-wheel drive available in the VR4 in the Stealth. Why not bring that back? Why do they keep bringing back Charger name? That is such a grandpappy name, and that is another about where they're going with the design language of this car. Stop trying to dig up dead relatives and serve them to us. It's not playing out. When can I get my own car, please and thank you? You know, that's the problem that I have with Dodge. If you want a throwback car, go with the Stealth. It's a V6. It's a 6-cylinder. It's all-wheel drive. It's kind of got that future 80s, 90s kind of look to it that those of us of a certain age would just be going, give me here's all my money. Why not just do that? Why does it have to be this just played out? My God, let the thing rest for a minute type of design language, and to do it poorly, to bring to the table something that looks like that. Oh, and by the way, what's with the taillight thing? I didn't realize that, you know, we needed 2009 Charger taillights on the back of this thing. What the flip were they thinking, right? Anyway, if we had that design language, nobody would have a leg to stand on to complain about V8s not being in that car. You'd have all the power. Maybe it'd be a little bit smaller too. 420 and a 540 variant, all-wheel drive. The thing would be a monster. It would be Cold War kid friendly. What the freaking heck would be wrong with that? It's like the freaking story writes itself. Dodge, how do you screw? Seriously, I mean, my God. It's like you spot somebody the bread, you give them the ham, and they go like bread, ham, and the mayo is like thrown on the wall. Like they just freaking hammer the thing. freaking curveball that shit right into your freaking neighbor's window. That's what it feels like. Like you couldn't have scripted it worse than what Dodge has done. I mean, the first part of it is trying to bring and wheel out the EV first. You want to talk about just doing something to piss somebody off, right? That's like not wearing underwear and forgetting to zip up your pants, dude. Like this is an embarrassing thing just about to happen. Okay. This guy is coming. He ain't out the bathroom yet, though. We don't have the EVs and dealerships. It's like the guy's still in the bathroom. He's just not paying attention, right? And is about to walk out in public with his business all trying to poke out of his pants. That's what it feels like dropping an EV first before you hit us with the ICE setup. But then to drop that ICE in a car that looks like that, are you trying to push us into the arms of Ford, Dodge? Like, do you just want us to leave? Because so many people already have. I used to have a joke at one point where I would just say, hey, if you want a good deal on a good, nice, clean used Mopar, go to your nearest Ford used car section of their dealership. No, it's true, bro. Go to any of these Ford dealerships and people are trying to get out from underneath their Scat Packs and RTs, and they're getting S660s, the new GT Mustang. Yeah, it's happening. And that's what they're up to now. Guys are getting away from Dodge because if they want to buy something new, they don't want to Dodge it. Look how much these things are trying to cost anyway. Anyway, my big issue with this is always going to be the fact that Dodge cannot seem to, they can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And it seems like they are training to be good at it. It's like, okay, I'm going to train to be a fighter, right? I got all these combinations. I got all this stuff put together. But you know what? The way that my defense is going to work is I'm going to block every punch with my face, okay? That's what Dodge is doing. It's like you've got all the tools there ready to go, and then you completely flub it. And it just, I don't get it. This is the dumbest thing ever. This is, and I hate to put it like this, but I mean, this is brand suicide. I mean, this is how you destroy something beautiful. This is like Jared Leto in Fight Club. When Edward Norton just beats him to a pulp. Why'd you do that? Psycho boy, I just wanted to destroy something beautiful. That's what Stellantis is doing here. That's exactly what's happening. They're wrecking it, but they're doing it in the but they could get it right, and it could be great, and it could be amazing. And I'll put it to you another way. Let me just kind of sum this little rant up that I'm on. Dodge, you put it together, call it the Stealth, make it look kind of like the one that went away, make it all-wheel drive, 540 horse. I'd buy it. I'd buy it. I don't even care that the only way that you can tune it is through direct connection. Don't care. Still would buy it. Oh, you'd never be able to adjust parameters, and you won't be able to. I don't care. Don't care. I don't even care that you couldn't get a manual with it. I'd still buy that car. But there ain't no way that I would be caught buying one of the new Chargers. Not yet anyway. Not unless I see this car and somehow or another, this thing goes from being the ugly duckling to some gorgeous looking swan of a car, which I ain't seeing that happening yet. But hey, stranger things have happened. And besides, the numbers that they're going to be asking for these things are going to probably have me checked out anyway. So there is that. But let me check back in with you guys real quick, and then I am going to be out of y'all. Try to catch up with you guys real quick. We're going to shut it down here fairly soon. Skid say, I'm curious to see how much the 6-packs will weigh. Yeah, I mean, I would like to get excited about it. I'd be neat if it's a lightweight car, but I just have a feeling it's still going to be heavy, bro. I don't think it's going to be light. Yeah, Skids didn't liking the looks of it either. Let's see. Sherrod saying, why won't an automaker make a V8, a 6, an EV in the same model, then try to keep the performance the same? Well, I mean, each one is going to be significantly different from than the next. But you know what? Just give people what they want, man. Quit. These guys keep trying to be cute with what they're putting together, and it never does play nice. You know. I was saying, MR2, really good power. MR2s were fun cars. You never got a chance to drive one. I had a buddy of mine that had one. I drive it every once in a while. Fun car. Let's see. I think Chrysler should have supercharged the Pentastar. Not enough block thickness on that thing. Let's see. I was saying FSE makes 300 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque. It's a good power number for a V6. Those are, I mean, that's always a fun engine to drive too. They're peppy. Let's see. See if I can catch anybody else, if there's anything that catches my eye here. Eric's hanging out with Sovereign. You know, I think there's a lot of folks like Eric saying, 590 horse out of a 5.5 liter dual overhead cam. That would take a lot of compression to get there and a lot of RPM. CJ saying, to me, the best 6 turbo is the Ford 4-liter Barra. Dude, those things are sick. Those engines are nasty. And why we don't have something like that still blows my mind. I just, again, what the heck? But with that, guys, if I didn't get to you, I'm sorry, but I do need to wrap it up. If it's your first time hanging out with us, man, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate that. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that kind of stuff. Helps the channel out a ton. I don't want to wear this one thin, but guys, look, you know where I'm coming from with this. Love the V8, but the 6-cylinder turbos have got their place too. Why we can't have both, I don't know. We're supposed to have a V8 that we never got. We'll just have to see where the new car goes. The truck at least will have a V8 for the 3/4 tons. But, this is where we're at right now. And if this is stuff that you can't deal with having a V8, guys, I get it. I kind of feel the same way. And without a V8 option, I'm just not really going to be all that interested in a player, especially with a car that looks like it should have a V8 with the styling language that it's using. An inline 6 just kind of, it's like having, a really nice ingredient that doesn't go along with the flavor of the rest of the dish. That to me is how that 6 looks for the Charger. So with that saying, guys, listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks again.